You know that story we all learned about our earliest ancestors? The one where it's a simple, straightforward tale of one group replacing another? Well, it turns out it's wrong. We're about to dive into a discovery that is completely rewriting the very first chapter of the human story.
So this has always been the big question, right? For decades, we've wondered, were Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens, these bitter rivals, locked in some epic battle for survival? Or was there something totally different going on? The answer, as it turns out, is so much more complicated and honestly, way more fascinating than we ever thought.
And this is really the heart of it. We are seeing a huge shift in our understanding. We're moving away from that old, simple story of separate paths, of competition, where one group just loses. And we're moving toward a new story, one that's all about connection, maybe even collaboration, and a journey that our ancestors might have actually shared.
Okay, so first, let's just quickly look at the myth that most of us grew up with. The official, but as we now know, incomplete version of our own history. This was the standard picture for so long. You had Neanderthals over here, Homo sapiens over there, living totally separate lives. And, eventually, our species, Homo sapiens, just wins out. It was a nice, clean narrative. But, as you're about to see, the real evidence tells a story that's a whole lot messier and a whole lot more interesting. But then, a discovery inside a single cave in the Middle East started to pull that entire old story apart. It presented something radical, something new. And listen, this is not just any old cave. We're talking about Tinshemet Cave, located in a region that was basically a natural highway for ancient migrations. This place turned out to be an absolute treasure trove, holding clues that had been sitting there, just waiting for tens of thousands of years.
The clues found here, they date back 110,000 years. This is a huge deal. It's a pivotal moment in time where we now have clear evidence that different human groups were absolutely in the same place at the exact same time.
So, how in the world do scientists take a bunch of old bones and stones and turn them into a brand new story for all of humanity? Well, let's put on our detective hats and look at exactly what this research team investigated.
The team was smart. They didn't just look at who was in the cave, but how they were living. They dug into 4 key areas. They looked at their stone tools, and wow, they found all these similarities in how they were making these sophisticated, sharp flakes. They analyzed hunting strategies and saw that both groups were skilled enough to take down large animals. And, most importantly, they started looking for the really human stuff, evidence of symbolic thought and complex social bonds.
And this is where it gets really profound. They found evidence of what might be the world's very first formal burials. This is a monumental leap. It shows us they weren't just getting rid of bodies. They were performing rituals, carefully placing the dead in specific positions. This suggests a shared culture and much, much stronger social ties.
Another giant piece of this puzzle was something called ochre. It's a natural pigment like a type of dirt-based paint, and it was found all over the cave. The researchers are pretty sure it was used for symbolic decoration, maybe even painting their own bodies. You can think of it as an ancient way of expressing identity, of saying we belong together.
And get this, they weren't just burying their dead. They were burying them with things. We're talking stone tools, animal bones, and that same symbolic ochre. These grave goods, as they're called, are incredibly powerful evidence. They suggest these people had complex rituals, and maybe, just maybe, the very first sparks of a belief in an afterlife.
So you start to put all these clues together, right? The shared tools, the burial rituals, the symbolism, and a completely new picture starts to emerge. A real revelation about our shared, ancient world.
Professor Yossi Zeidner really just says it perfectly. This region wasn't a battleground between 2 different species. It was a melting pot. It was this dynamic, vibrant place where different groups, including Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, met, they mingled, and they absolutely influenced each other.
So you might be wondering, how did this whole melting pot even get started? Well, another researcher, Dr. Marion Prevost, suggests it might have been driven by something as simple and powerful as the climate. As the weather got better, the region could support more life, so populations grew. As they grew, they naturally started running into each other more often. And all that contact, it sparked an incredible exchange of ideas. Things like new tool-making techniques and shared ways to honor the dead.
But now, let's be real. It probably wasn't some peaceful, ancient utopia all the time. As Professor Israel Hershkovitz points out, their interactions were dynamic. Yeah, there was likely cooperation and sharing, but there was also probably competition for food and resources. It was a complex relationship, a lot like human relationships are today.
So, okay, this is a really fascinating story about our ancient past. But what does it actually mean for us, right here, right now? Why does any of this matter? This, right here, is the biggest lesson from Tinshemet Cave. It reveals a fundamental truth about who we are. Humanity's greatest leaps forward, from the very first symbolic burials all the way to modern technology, they don't happen when we're isolated. They're always ignited by connection and by sharing ideas.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We've just seen a foundational story about our own origins get completely turned on its head. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we were wrong about something so basic, what else might we be wrong about? It's a pretty powerful reminder that our story is definitely not finished being written.